not meant for those, then you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it because it's a suicide. And you know, when your vocal organ is gone, when your diaphragm is broken, has lost the fiber with which it was born, there is no medicine to go back. So the choice should be done from the very beginning, gradually, going into a repertoire that you believe is meant for you and that you like, of course, and gradually, in the years, in the months, if you see that this repertoire is not hurting you, that at the end of a session, of a lesson, of whatever, you are not tired, you are not losing the quality of your vocality, then you are on the right path. On the other hand, if, of course, you can have a tiny cold and that could affect actually your, but if you are in a good health and you see that the repertoire that you're doing, what you're singing is making you tired, consider it and try to step back and to reorganize yourself in a direction that's meant for you. By nature, remember, we are all born with a very specific path already written, and we should follow it. We should follow it. I know, again, I repeat, it's tempting to go towards targets that are very much attracting, but it's always better to do this kind of step 1 year or 2 years or 3 years later than 3 years too soon. Never forget this. And you will find yourself in a good position in your life, artistic life, after some decades, telling some young colleagues what was the path that you followed. For one advice I could give to everybody from the very beginning is that I was lucky enough to have this attraction towards the repertoire that CAP because it brought me into Mozart. I was 26 when I started in that direction, and my last Mozarts, last Figaro and last Leporello were in 2004, which is a good 25 years after the beginning. And the last Giovanni was in 2005, just because it wasn't a vocal choice, a decision, nothing to do with voice, because probably today I could do it even better than before, but all the Mozart roles, Figaro, Count, Giovanni, Leporello, Alfonso, with the exception of Alfonso Guglielmo, are roles written for young men. Young men who are supposed to jump and roll and run while singing, while performing, because this is the only way to create character. Because Figaro is a young man, Giovanni should be a young man, Leporello as well. They are all ideally in the mid-30s, beginning of the 40s. Not. So, in few words, the fourth act of Figaro in those years, when Figaro is not recognized yet by Susanna, and that act for me was pure happiness. It was fun. I was really an happy man. In 2004, 2005, I realized that those roles started to become pure fatigue, physical. And this is a sign that Mozart and nature giving you, tell you that it's time to go into some other repertoire. And And so I did. I will never forget, just briefly, something that happened to me in the years when I was singing mostly Mozart. And I went at the Met and I saw a very important colleague of mine in his mid-50s singing Figaro and singing well, but climbing stairs on the set like somebody in the mid-50s. And I said to myself, that day, remember that day, because on that day you need to go. And so I did. And the big luck is that if you leave a repertoire and you have the proper vocality and experience that you have put together in those years, Mozart years, you can go back and have your repertoire, which was, if you want, my original one, so I went back more and more in the big Verdis, in the Russian repertoire, there is in Don Quixote. And I found in these roles the freshness and the enthusiasm that I had before with the Mozart. What other profession gives you this possibility? No other profession. Because you can start, let's say, a new, I wouldn't say a new career, but a new phase of your career when you are in your mid-50s. Can you imagine? I mean, it's unique. And not only that, but the fact of having done these good 25 years of Mozart preserved my vocality like no other repertoire could. Why? Because the only way to sing Mozart is to you and to do it in the most natural way of it. Because in the Mozart roles, you don't need to cover, to create a false vocality over your own natural one, to be older, nastier, more sinister. No, you don't need it. You need just to be a young man in love, jealous, or bon vivant à la Don Giovanni. You don't need it. And you spend those 25 years of your important life with a continued medicine. This is pure medicine for your vocality. Because when you will arrive in the heavier one day you will find your vocality as fresh as it was 25 years before. But with the experience of a grown-up singer, therefore all the difficulties that you can find dramatically in Boris, in King Philip, in Fiesco, in Don Quixote, or you can name them all. They will faced with a vocality that is still fresh and ready to face all the difficulties. So my most important advice is, if you're meant by nature to do Mozart, do as much of it as you can. And now I think I've done most of my advices. I told you basically what I've done. Of course, I cannot share with you, I repeat, the privilege that I had to meet these amazing personalities. But, I repeat, probably will give you the strength to fight for your profession even more than I had to, because I found everything basically ready. You will have to fight for it. But maybe it's not a bad opportunity. Well.
Ferruccio, can you tell why in the first place you decided to become a singer? How did it happen?
Well, I believe that, like for everybody here, when you're born with a vocality, you know it from the very beginning. I've been just making my great-grandfather happy. I was singing the Trovatore aria, whatever, just to say I'll make you by ear.
Quella via?
No, sconta col sangue mio, this kind of stuff. And then some Neapolitan songs like Torna or like Tu che m'hai preso il cuore. I was happy to sing. I was meant by nature to sing. Then we are talking about when I became a teenager. It was the second half of the 60s, which was the most magic moment in the pop music ever. Of course I learned to play guitar. Of course I had a group. Of course I was leading guitar and leading voice. and I spent those years mad in love with it. I never really loved the ambience of the pop music. Even at that time, for a country boy like I was, it was a bit not so clean. There was already some drugs circulating, and being a country boy, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and I was avoiding it. I made 2 recordings, professional recordings of pop, some TV also, but I never repeat, I never liked the end. So at a certain moment I gave up with it. I did high school. In high school I did a very important humanistic school that we have in Italy called Liceo Classico, where you study a lot of subjects that will never help you to make a living. Like ancient Greek, Latin, Italian, of course, literature, philosophy, English, literature. I remember that the first time I came to this country, I thought that I knew how to deal with the language, but basically I knew everything about British literature. I could tell you about Milton, Geoffrey Chaucer, but I didn't know how to order a hamburger. My first time in this country was New Orleans, and I had a lot of difficulty to understand. But this humanistic school is the best in the world, if you don't have to live to make a living with it. The best in the world to open the mind of a young man, because it digs deeply, deeply in your mind, in your soul, and the preparation that you receive from this to face the world is unique. After that I went, in this moment when I was getting rid of the idea of continuing pop, I was studying something completely different in university, a branch of agriculture and forestry, because I always been very much attracted by nature, and I wanted to go into that direction. And at this very stage, a sister of my mother, who did sing a little bit opera, she started very late, and she made a tiny career, but not an important one. But she kept telling me, why don't you try with opera, why don't you try with operas? And at that moment I promised, opera was light years away from my mind. I never saw one, I never heard it, but somehow I felt the responsibility that I received by nature, receiving this gift. And so I decided just to give a try, to my own, not to me. And I went to Mantua, northern Italy, south of Milano, where there was a very famous opera vocal teacher. Incidentally, was the voice teacher of Pavarotti, Scotto, Freni, Ettore Campogalliani. He was a stunning personality, a singer at all. His voice was like a crow. He was a sensational pianist, fantastic musician, and a man with enormous culture in every direction. And I went to see him. I did prepare an opera aria, A te l'estrema vive from Volcanic Fisk, which was the shortest, the easiest,